Go get bigger clients, go provide more services, and blow it up. Go build $1 million business.
What I'm afraid of is splitting focus.
Mm-hmm. And there he is.
Yo!
Mr. Drew Hitchcock in the house. Drew's part of Movement Makers and Brandlytics. Well, what are we doing here today? How can I help? Drew, what do you got?
So I think when I originally signed up for this, it was going to be a conversation around scaling and that kind of thing. I was in a very different place than how things have progressed over the last couple of weeks even. So we hired a video editor on. So now some video editing is getting done, and I'm starting to see kind of the light at the end of the tunnel. In just realizing I don't have to do everything. So it's been just kind of a fascinating journey, kind of going through that, and then a project from a year and a half ago that I thought was dead in the water finally came to fruition. So I am now an author and have my own author page on Amazon. We were #1 best-selling in small business, #2 in entrepreneurship, and #3 in starting a business last night, which was kind of exciting. So yeah, this conversation, I'm just there's a lot of different places we could take this, and
You tell me, man. Where do you want to go?
When I wrote the chapter for that book and was kind of thinking that was going to go live a year ago, I had a very different idea and thought about where I ultimately wanted my business to go. Back then, I was more focused on how do I create a course? How do I create kind of a group, kind of an accountability coaching program where it's I think one of the biggest struggles that a lot of people have is just, when you're out doing your own thing, it's hard to stay grounded and really working toward what it is that you're trying to build and having kind of that mission based, and just having somebody to poke you and spur you along and say, hey, these are things you should be looking at. That was kind of the direction that I was going. And then things kind of went a 180 and I got deep into the consulting world, helping out people grow their YouTube channel. And I guess the question that I would have for you is, it's in light of that project kind of doing well, and what I'm afraid of is splitting focus. Mm-hmm. It's I want to crush it for my clients. That's what I want. That's what I want to do. But at the same time, I also know that the ideas and thoughts that I've executed on and kind of demonstrated, have the potential to help a lot of people. So it's kind of that balance between how do I ensure that I continue to crush it with the clients that I'm working on with, but also, kind of feed that desire to help more people.
What was the name of the book?
So the Six-Figure Roadmap was the name of the book. So basically there were 30 of us. We all picked an area kind of that we felt like we had expertise in, and we all wrote a chapter. And there's a lot of really, really interesting chapters in there. Mine was more along the lines of getting clarity. So
now it's for clarity.
Well, the thing is clarity comes in a lot of different forms, in my opinion, where
I'm just pushing you.
Yeah.
So financially, if you think about Six-Figure Roadmap, you've got two ways to do it. The six-figure, I get from the title of the book, it's six-figure income, six-figure revenue kind of path. But the other one I would look at is the six-figure YouTube success, help people get their silver plaque.
Yep.
You have a lot more upside and uniqueness on the YouTube side than on the other side. Mm-hmm. In the world of just, hey, I'm going to help you build a six-figure business, you're one of many.
Yeah.
It's many, right?
Yeah.
On the YouTube side, it's still been a pretty fast journey. It's been what, a year and a half? How long have you been doing YouTube consulting stuff? 2 years?
A little over 2 years now.
And you kind of dabbled into it, and then it.
Well, dabbled is not the right word. The more I more fell into the hole is how I would probably describe it.
Right, but it's like you offered to help somebody. You still had a full-time job. It was another thing to do. It wasn't like I'm going to go be the world's greatest YouTube consultant when you
Yeah.
right. And now it's shifting towards those lines. So you could make a lot more money in YouTube, and there's a window. There's a limited window. Like there are so few people who know what they're actually doing
Mm-hmm.
in YouTube consulting, and you could, especially inside of thought leadership, which is what more you do. It's not like, hey, I'm going to help you with your slime or something.
Yeah.
There's so many people you could build, depending on your ambitions, a super successful, 300K a year job.
Yep.
Or $1 million plus business with a team of people.
Yeah.
That's high margin, right? I mean, there's no way someone who's 2 years in on a business, for the most part, should make the money that you could make out of this.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a window, and that will close, right? In 5 years, it might be something else. In 5 years, people may not be caring as much about YouTube, or 10 years or whatever. Right now, there's a big push for thought leaders to get into it. A lot of the thought leaders that you and I both know have had, some of the people I've helped have had a channel for longer than me.
Yep.
They've been on it. They've had stuff, but now suddenly, maybe a decade later, now they're starting to take it seriously. So you've got a window here to really push hard if you want to. The only reason why I would go do the other stuff is if it's just this burning desire. Because if you can build up your YouTube side, focus on it, build a giant nest egg, that helps you then go do everything else after.
Yeah.
If you've built the structures and the team and you have people around you and you have a lot more money, that allows you to then do whatever. You have your own book, have your own podcast, have your own channel, or do consulting, like whatever you want to do at scale, because you got a lot of money already in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
So I would delay the entrepreneurship stuff, the six-figure business stuff, unless it's just like you got to do it. Like it's so. Yeah.
Well, it's like fundamentally speaking, I feel like a lot of the conversations that I have with people who are not like my direct client person, I feel like I have a lot of wisdom and advice to give them, but obviously it's like they're not at the level where it's like it makes sense for me to come on board and look at their like what they're doing and how they're approaching their business. So it's like I'm just trying to figure out of like, how do I put something together that I can still utilize as kind of like a resource for people without it like taking up my time. It's kind of like creating the leverage ultimately.
There's a couple ways to do it. There's wait for opportunities to come to you, like books. Like you could be a part of another book. You can be part of somebody else's show. But it won't happen that much. I mean, even as you build your YouTube career, helping other entrepreneurs, you might get asked to join somebody's. Well, you got asked to join somebody's podcast.
Yeah, I'll be on a podcast tomorrow.
Yeah. So, whatever. It's not Joe Rogan, but it's a podcast, and it's the starting point. That's how it starts. And as you continue to build your business and just make your way in the entrepreneur world, you'll start getting asked to be a part of different projects. They'll never be like the big ones.
Yeah.
Not what you could potentially do if you focus all your effort on it, but that's a way of continue to give back and help. You could easily do something like this once a week for 25 minutes, coaching somebody who's an entrepreneur, somebody who's read the book, make that as part of the bonus. Hey, you get into a draw to have a one-on-one with one of the authors to talk about how to build a six-figure business. And that trains you in coaching.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, it's funny because like when I originally joined that book, like for me, it wasn't about like, that isn't necessarily what I would consider my passion at all. It was hey, this is a platform where I feel like I can add a value in a way that, I mean, so in the book, there's 30 different topics, and I would say half the topics in probably a year or two are probably going to be completely out of date, just as a function of like, there are things like, oh, this is what Facebook marketing looks like today.
Not your section.
Yeah, my section is more of an evergreen. Like, I know that the things that I talk about are like time tested, and people 5 years down the line when they pick it up.
Scratch the itch, man. Like, how much you need to scratch that itch? It is once a week talking to somebody for 25 minutes and just coaching them. Is that enough? Do you need time every single day to do something?
I mean, like, for me, like, it's not a, like, I want to actively coach people. It's a, like, I'm more than happy to field questions and have conversations. It's not necessarily what I want as, like, the primary modality of my business, if that makes sense.
So then just let it come to you.
Okay.
You're streaming with us 4 days a week. Sometimes you don't always show up. But most or like for an hour, or like Zan's committed, right? You're like, okay, I'll join. Oh, I got dinner on the table. Okay, I'm gonna go, right? Which is great. If that scratches the itch, you keep doing it. If that stops being fulfilling or not a good use of time, you move on and do something else, right? Like, just you let the opportunities come to you, but you don't push super hard on it.
Yeah.
Super hard on the YouTube thing. That's 80% of your time. Go get better clients, go get bigger clients, go provide more services, and blow it up. Go build $1 million business out of it.
Yeah, because kind of like where, at least in the last week or so, after hiring on my first editor and kind of touching the waters of hiring a designer, I like kind of see the vision of like, oh, cool. Once I've got the team established, I could just simply have people plug in and say, cool, I need videos edited with all the design work and you to just take care of it. Very much done for you. And I see that as potentially being a really good way to scale what I'm doing and give access to, because like most people when they are first starting YouTube, who are more like business entrepreneur type people, like they're like, man, I gotta like record these videos, sit down, learn how to edit, figure this out, and just get through it until that starts generating money. Then I'm going to hire this team. And I feel like a lot of people, that stunts the growth that they have and the potential that they have as a function of, like, I mean, I've seen it numerous times where it's like somebody really just says they're committed, goes for it, and the even just ad revenue that's coming in more than pays for the activity. And it's like, just by having the team and having those handful of months of upfront cost to ultimately get them to something that brings in revenue and is more of a revenue generator versus something that's a cost or looked at as a cost, rather than an investment.
Because people don't know. People don't know. They just see as YouTube as one of the many places they need to, and I need to spend money for a videographer and an editor and a XYZ, not realizing, oh, you can actually, like, this should not be a loss center for you. It should be maybe not a profit center, but at least a break even. Like, the goal is to break even for you to then invest more back in the channel and get your brand out there and sell products and services and all the other stuff that they're trying to do in building the brand. I'd be looking at, hey, how do I build $1 million business and keep $500,000 a year for myself?
Yeah,
you could do that. It requires working with more clients, better clients, and it's normal. Like, the clients that you start with don't end up being the clients typically that you stick with.
I don't know. I've got some pretty cool clients.
Well, if that becomes the goal, it's like, how many people can you take on? The goal is to become $1 million business. It's hard in consulting to be $1 million business. You know, it's hard. Like, 300,000 is a good consultant.
Yeah,
it's hard, but it's doable with the team and scalability. So, how many clients? You know, what are you going to be charging? If you're looking at $3,000 to $5,000 a month, you know, how many clients do you need to have then to build $1 million business? And then what's the team that you need to have to be able to support that? The services you're offering. What's your role in managing? Do you even want to have that many people on your team to manage? And how do you get more clients who will pay you that $5,000 a month range?
Yeah. Well, you know, when I sat down and kind of like set forth, like, here's the vision of what I see. It's like, I feel like as a 10-year goal to have the desire to get, as I put it, get 10 of my heroes to a million subs or more. Like, that to me seems like a worthwhile effort to go after. Like, money is only secondary as a function of, like, I know the money will be there.
Yeah. No, I like it. And people who will invest along the way with you to say, yes, we believe in you, Drew. We'll take what do you hire Drew for? Well, Drew, you get the consulting, you get the strategy, and you get the experience and know-how. But Drew's not going to be himself editing anything. He's not the on-air talent, right? But he can coach you and guide you. So then if you're going to do, I'm not a huge fan of going on the editing route because it's mostly a commodity business. You'd have to be able to justify charging more YouTube editing compared to normal editor because you know how to edit for YouTube coming up. But going down the path of like data analytics, split testing, thumbnails, all that kind of stuff is something that people will definitely pay for and pay a premium for because there's a lot of people who can edit a YouTube video together. There's not a lot of people who know how to make sense of the data and then actually create the test on what to do next. So that's just where you could charge more and also bring more value to people, right? Like they're still going to need somebody to shoot the videos for them.
Yeah.
You probably don't want to go down that path of hiring like local videographers. Like I went through this process with Jeremy too, who's building his business, and editing was like, I don't want to touch editing. Like, do not touch editing. It's too commodity, too much. Like if they don't like a thumbnail, you can always swap it out. They don't like an editing, how you cut something. There's too much back and forth for just
and that's kind of one of the reasons why, like, the reason I've brought the editor on, one is just to understand what's that process look like when you do hire out a thing. Like right now we're testing the editor primarily on my wife's channel. She's got a small cooking channel, and it's been great because one, she's editing on her iPhone versus somebody who actually like knows what they're doing. So it's like to be able to literally just dump the entire video footage into a folder and just have, 2 days later have it show up as a like finished product that only has a couple of minor tweaks that can get fixed in, a quick turnaround. It's just been insightful to say the least.
I think or even just time coding mashups. Like if you took, I don't know, any thought leader, you take their content and they've already made some content, and then you mash it up. But they don't know what parts to look at. Like you just look at the data. Hey, this part from this video. They don't know what topics to do it on. That's one of the biggest value adds you can bring to any of your clients, because the most valuable asset is always their time, and asking them to make more videos is the hardest thing to do. Schedule time in to make videos is the hardest thing to do. Asking them to do an end card is super easy, and often mashups perform better than the original videos anyway. So that service of like you'd pitch that to a thought leader, like, all right, I love it. I get to double the output of videos on my channel. I have to do no extra work. Perfect. But then who's gonna material? Who's gonna research? Who's gonna put it all together, right? That's where it becomes a problem. So selling a mashup service could be cool on top of everything else that you're doing. But I wouldn't want to be the main video editor for somebody. I think it's just too much back and forth.
Because like I went through one channel that I just recently brought on. I went through, he only had 38, 40 videos. And to pull out kind of, it's funny, after a couple of videos where you see where the spikes are, it's like, oh, I'm noticing a trend. If there are words on the video clip, then you see a spike. It's like, So gives you a lot of insight into, like, one, what are things you can do on future edits of, what do people go back and rewatch? And two, obviously you can take the clips around those instances and, choose to mash them up if you want.
That I would sell as a service. I wouldn't want to be, if I'm you, there's nothing wrong with being the primary video person, but I think for them to be an ideal client, they need to have a budget of $5,000 a month for you, and they need to be able to have a point person to deal with. Because if they're the point person, they just have too much on their plate to deal with. So they need a point person, and then they need a video editor and like someone to film, and that might be the same person. But if you're always asking them to film off their phone, it just falls apart. Having their plate falls apart because being a YouTuber is not their goal. They've got a business to build.
Yeah.
So those are the kinds of, and you want to level people up to get there. It's like, hey, for this to really work, here's the team that you need, and here's where I fit in, and my team fits in, and how it helps your entire social platform, not just YouTube.
No.
But yeah, I think thumbnails could be great. The testing, the split testing could be great. The mashups could be great. Definitely the consulting and strategy and guidance could be great. And slowly start offering more services to current clients. And then back to your initial question, like I think it should be your focus. I think right now it's just super hot. I think you could have a big impact. Like these 10 heroes of yours, whoever they are, they have a reason to talk to you right now.
Yeah.
Where otherwise they may not. Like if you go in as the 6-figure business guy who helps.
But that is so like I said, this project got kicked off 18 months ago, and I thought it was dead 6 months ago.
Anything in that realm, like if you love helping people find clarity or whatever you think you're an expert at in the small business world, none of your heroes want to talk to you about that.
Yeah.
They just don't respect your opinion on those things.
Well, they're already at the point where they have the clarity to understand where they're going anyways. They already have the vision.
Whoever your hero is, I don't know, like who's one of your dream 10 that you don't know?
That I don't know?
Well, that you want to work with that's not a client right now.
Ooh. I have my list of like 50 people who I would like categorize as like heroes of mine.
Okay.
I haven't
one of them
that I'm not working with.
Yeah.
Oh well, actually, you're already familiar with this.
Okay.
It's Mr. Chase.
Okay, so Chase Jarvis. So Chase Jarvis is a hero. Awesome. Chase, again, will not care about you giving him clarity on his life or business or anything else.
Fully aware.
But like YouTube, he could use some help. And he's a great target in that he's a good dude, right? Like I love Chase. He's got great content.
Mm-hmm.
He has already put out a bunch of videos. He's been around for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't quite know what he's doing on the data and algorithm side, and it's just one of many things that he's doing. Like Chase, I would not want to be his video editor because Chase is a kick-ass photographer, and his back, Jesus Christ, like I would not want to be his video editor. Like as a service, if I worked on his team, for sure. But as you'd have to do so much work to train. It just wouldn't be worth it. But you have a chance to talk to him about YouTube. Where otherwise he wouldn't talk to you. He's a nice guy and everything, but he wouldn't hire you for everything else that you're capable of doing.
Yeah. Right.
Same thing for me, right? And going to Puerto Rico and Brendan Burchard and those guys, I'm not teaching them how to believe in themselves more. Right? It's like we all teach this stuff. It's not Brendan crying saying, Evan, how do I believe more? I have a window to really crush it. So I think the upside of going hard on YouTube right now is, yes, the financial returns. Yes, just the business chops of this allows you to build a bigger business faster and get the experience of managing a team and hiring people and all that. But it also puts you in the circles that you want to be playing in,
mm-hmm.
that otherwise you shouldn't be in. And that's worth something. Like if you stop being a YouTube consultant in 5 years to pivot to being the clarity guy or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Playing with it. Something else. All of these contacts that you've made can help you. like Chase can then help you. Chase might put you on his show to talk about how to find clarity because you built a relationship with him over the past 5 years of helping him blow up on you.
Yeah.
So everything is just screaming like, go as hard as you can for as fast as you can on YouTube. The only caveat is like, if you just have to scratch the itch on something, like you did your nose, it's like you just got to do it.
Oh, I knew you were gonna do something back.
You got to do it. You just got to do it. But it's not a strategic decision. Where should you focus your time? You asked about focus at the start. It's like YouTube. As much as you can, as long as you can, as hard as you can. YouTube. But don't kill yourself doing it, right?
Yep.
Got you, and let the other things come to you. And if they don't, and you have to go make something on your own, awesome. But I don't think you should be putting it as part of your calendar to say, I'm going to spend 2 days a week doing writing or other stuff.
Yeah. Cool.
That's it. Drew Hitchcock in the house. IG, it says Hitchcock. So it starts with your last name?
Yeah, Hitchcock.Drew.
Because somebody was taken? Was Drew.Hitchcock taken?
Yeah, it happens.
All right. Hitchcock.Drew. Go check him out. Appreciate the love, man. See you tonight.
If you want to see another awesome one-on-one I did with an entrepreneur just like you, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
You're planning too much and not doing enough. When you're doing the coaching, you get the instant feedback of what's working and what's not working. This order will help you get the fastest results.